Okay, so I've got some time to kill here, so we're going to do a little dev video here. Now I need to get this done before 9, so we'll have to see how the window kind of works for this. Usually my videos are an hour long, so that shouldn't be a problem, but we'll try not to go over. So what we're going to work on is the Armory mod. I started working on this again here a couple days ago. I have a client who wants guns and stuff done, so the best way to accomplish that is just to use the existing system, which is the Armory mod. It's been developed to allow people to make custom guns with no coding experience. All you have to do, and this is a reminder from my last video since probably nobody's seen it, this is literally a gun. This is all you need for the data. You tell it what its name is. This is used for the display name and localizations. The type, this is actually not used for anything. It's mainly just to tell the user that this is a shotgun, rifle, submachine gun, etc. I may end up using this for the NPC data to tell the NPCs how to better utilize the weapons. You implement some kind of custom ID. This has to be unique. That way you can't override somebody else's ID. This is actually saved to the world and it verifies that it's the same gun on load. You tell it the ammo type, what ammo you want to load into it, how it's reloaded. This is hand fed. Clip size, how many rounds you can fit in here. The fall off, which is not currently implemented, but will determine at what distance or actually at kind of how an accuracy is calculated. It's going to be modified and changed. There's going to be a few different values that are going to be inputted here. There's going to be one that tells you the minimum and maximum distance by which your gun is effective. That way you have to hit a minimum distance to reach maximum muzzle velocity, and then a maximum distance by which then the round starts to lose enough velocity that things like wind and gravity and stuff start to take full effect on the round. That's what fall off technically is supposed to be, is how much accuracy we're losing per meter, which right now is set really low. This will end up turning into an equation. Mass is not used for anything. This will end up being used to calculate speed and stuff, like how quickly can you switch weapons, how cumbersome is the weapon. If the weapon is heavy enough, it actually will slow your character down. This will be like miniguns, which will have a mass in like the 20,000, 40,000 range. Right now this is a handgun, which is 638, which is a couple pounds. Rifles are like 3,000 grams, which are 8 pounds. Rate of fire is how many rounds can I fire in a single minute. This is actually calculated into milliseconds and actually is used to control the trigger delay. And then reload time is how quickly it takes to reload clips. This is actually not currently implemented, but will be implemented. So that way there is a delay between you can use your weapon next. They will load the clip instantly, but there will be an animation that will play. So in the logical code, the clip loads, but then the animation will keep playing. But there's no plans on implementing animation right at the moment, so it'll just turn into a delay with some audio. But yeah, that's the minimum there. There are other things like declaring the ammo type. So if we want to go like, hey, here's our ammo. So you declare, actually the ammo type is here. So you declare your type. Your type literally just tells me what the name is. This is just used for lookup data, just so I can attach all the ammo to it. Then you define all your ammo. So we've got right now just basic, advanced, and elite shotgun shells. These will actually be named something else. For testing purposes, they're just called basics. I can check different damage values. There'll be different effects attached to these, like one of these will have fire effect or something. But when it comes to the actual packages you'll download, because these are test guns, you can't actually get them in game unless you spawn with creative mode. The packages you'll download and install for the Armory mod will be realistic guns, or they'll be mystical guns. There'll be something that are heavily themed, craftable. The ammunition will be named. It'll be like EMP ammo, incendiary ammo, armor piercing, spread, shotgun, whatever. That aside, let's go ahead and boot it up. Now, what I've done since my other videos, I actually have created a second Minecraft instance on my dev workspace. This is just to accelerate the loading time. If I don't have all the mods loaded, then the workspace literally instantaneously loads. This kind of, I kind of had an epiphany that made me realize that I needed to start doing this. It was mainly just to test the client's stuff. Oh, apparently I broke it in something. Okay, yeah, there's something wrong with get ammo count. Oh, because there's something wrong with this variable. So I went through and I changed some of the EBT data around to fix a bug. At least I thought I was fixing the bug. In reality, I don't think I actually affected anything. I don't think any of that's going to break. We do have JUnit tests for a lot of our stuff to ensure that they work no matter what. If the unit test fails, a build doesn't get released. Because we have automated build release now, this is really important. But ignoring that, hopefully this loads. We got like 680 of these tests right now. That's, if you actually ask a real project, that is small. Like a real project would have thousands upon thousands. We're at such a low number because it takes forever to build these tests up. If you actually look at this, like all of this right here is just a test what is sitting in the magazine. Like all that code. Here's the test loading the magazine, consuming ammo. This is just data that sets up the class for testing. That's just a lot just there to test to make sure there's ammo in the magazine. So when you create a magazine, this just makes sure that ammo gets loaded into it. There are ones to test that the clips function properly. There's ones to test the ammo loads and reads and write. There's a lot of read and write checks. Like almost every JSON processor has a read and write check for it, just to make sure that when the files load, they actually work correctly. That being said, I think there is a bug in VoltEngine right now where the JSON data will not load on the live copy of the mod. The dev workspace works perfectly fine. The live version is showing issues with identifying the files. This will be fixed pretty soon. I have actually no choice of fixing it. I got paid by a client to make stuff work, so it gets fixed or I repay the client. Seeing as I need to get maintenance done on my car, that's not ideal. But go ahead and test this. So I'll show off what I've got. I did make a video showing, I forgot to enable my anti-rain mode. Yeah, I showed off a video earlier where I had a bug with these where it was shooting flames constantly. That has been fixed. Reload time has been fixed, which was another bug that was shown in that video. Right now, these actually work, so there's a delay between fire. I can hold the trigger down and it'll only fire every so often. Now right now I'm not hitting this pig because right now it'll ray trace grass, so if we keep firing, it hits the grass. The ray trace code that Minecraft has by default is not exactly perfect, or that or I'm utilizing it wrong, one of the two, but we'll figure that out. But if we fire it, we actually hit. The accuracy is really, really good. I did note in a different video my grappling hook mod's ray tracing code was failing and was not accuracy-wise. That seems to only be affecting the grappling hook mod because these work perfectly. Now the blue line you are seeing is debug. This won't be in the final version. It will be in the final version, but you'll have to turn on the debug mode in order to see it. But if we fire, we get a nice particle effect. It is consuming ammo. These clip sizes are about 5. This is the rifle I am working on for a client. If we go to the tab, we got all the ammo here. There is individual rounds, so these will actually load into these. I don't know if the code is set up to recipe craft these, where you can put them in your inventory and actually craft them. It will create 2 magazines, one loaded, one unloaded. I do need to create some more textures to show that the one is empty and the other one is actually got ammo in it. I also do need to make another texture for the rifle and gun to show that they're loaded or unloaded. Right now, there's only one texture. I don't have models for these either. I do have models for things like this right here, which is a handgun. Much higher rate of fire, almost machine gun-like. Unfortunately, that is consuming ammo that shouldn't fit into it. That's another bug, I guess. Yeah, because if I put this here, oh yeah, it's not consuming that. I don't know why it was consuming the rifle ammo. Weird. I know it's consuming. It failed. There is a gun instance object that is created. If we can go find it real quick. So the item gun class is what actually controls most of the logic, or rather defines some of the logic here. So it's what we're holding in our hand right now. It actually keeps a gun instance per player, and it looked like the gun instance was maintaining itself even though we had switched weapons. It did switch and switch the data, but it did not switch the clip size. And I'm curious what exactly caused that. So we put this back here. If we put the rifle ammo, so if we fire, yeah, it believes we are still holding the rifle even though the data switched over. Yeah, see, it's identifying the gun cache isn't matching, but then it didn't switch the data over properly. If you hover over it, it actually goes null for chamber, but it it's identifying its ammo correctly, so it says it needs 9mm ammo. Reload type is clip. If we get rid of the rifle, it doesn't work without the rifle in my inventory. If we put the rifle back, it's working with the rifle in my inventory. I always hate when we get these weird bugs. Weird thing is it's also identifying as handgun ammo, but that might be a localization fail. Yeah, it's a localization fail. Oh, unless those actually are identifying as the wrong ammo type. We can go check this out real quick. A lot of things got to work out because this is a pretty new system I developed. I developed most of the code a while back, and I'm getting back into it again. I haven't finished it yet, but we're taking the opportunity working with my client's project to actually finish things. So let's go look at the rifle. Okay, so it does identify ammo type as rifle, ammo type rifle, ammo type rifle, and there's the ammo type which is rifle. So this is all this data is correct. It's correct projectile type, correct name. By the way, the names are localized, only used for localization, so they literally can match everything. How this ends up looking in the localization, real quick, is it will prefix the type in front of it, then the author. In this case, the author is the mod, then the rifle, then .name, and all this matches. Oh, here's why it's not working. Typo. I've only slept like 20 minutes the last day and a half, so explains why I'm having a lot of typos. That looks good. So that's not an issue there anymore. It will still show up until we restart the game. I haven't added in-game reload yet. That will be a thing pretty soon where you'll be able to type a command in and it'll reload all the JSON data. That way you can make edits in real time. I don't get why this is identifying the wrong ammo. Maybe I need to check my ammo check here. So if we go to the gun instance and we look at reload real quick. There's unload weapon, update entities, load round, load best clip. Here we go. We are checking if the ammo type matches. So we're going to click here real quick. And of course, we're not in debug mode. So let's hit save and quit and relaunch in debug mode. Unzip my jacket here. I literally just got back from dropping my brother off at the dentist, so still wearing my jacket and everything. Amazing fog out right now. I actually took my brother's camera and took a couple pictures when I got back here. I'm hoping that they, when I get them downloaded on my computer, they turn out pretty well. It's hard to tell because I don't know how to use his camera properly, but he's got a really nice Nikon, like Canon or whatever it's called. Takes amazing pictures. Feels pretty dumb. My brother spent $400 on it. He barely ever uses it. I'd love to have that kind of money. Let's see. So this will load up. I forgot to enable my anti-rain mod again. This is much quicker than loading my full workspace. My full workspace is like 40 mods at this point. I've got, I think we just hit our 100 repository mark on our GitHub. We're at 39 projects on Curse. And it's getting like out of hand of how much projects we have. Especially when you consider I'm trying to get into game development. I don't know how I'm going to keep up with all this. I'll figure it out eventually though. So we'll get this loaded up and we can check out what's going on. So if we fire it now, okay, we're going to hit debug mode. It thinks our ammo type matches. Okay, ammo type is rifle. Okay, group type is, yeah, it's rifle. What is our gun data? It thinks our gun's a rifle. So we clicked left click on wow. I just got to figure out what happened here. It thinks we're a rifle right now. Because we're clearly holding a handgun right now. Now let's see if we switch the slots here and see if it changes. No, it still thinks we're a rifle. So what has happened here? Okay, gun cache contains a value, but it did not match the player. Yeah, see, it's switching back between 3 and 0, 3 and 0, back and forth. It's hard to tell which one is which. I'm going to say this is gun 0 because I think the 9mm is one of the first guns that load. Yeah, so here's the 9mm, here's gun 1, 2, and 3. So it's switching IDs between back and forth between these two for some reason. So we're going to go back over here and we're going to figure out why our gun cache data is failing on us. So we get gun instance and it should pass in stack and player on mouse click. So if we go here, if world is remote, client-side gun equals null, or stacks do not match each other. Then we reset our client data object. And if we go over here, if we contain an object, if not, we just reset it down here as well. Yeah, we're gonna have to re-enable my anti-rain mod. I can do that real quick. File, project structure. Okay, Z Minecraft, add dependency, modular dependency, and I don't think I've released this mod yet. I'm going to have to make a build script for it and make sure I get it up on Curse for you guys to use. I know there's probably like a dozen of these mods out there, but I don't really care. Okay, so we grab the gun instance. And if we go gun instance doesn't equal null, and if stacks match each other, then we go if entity doesn't equal null, entity equals player, and item.gunData isn't null, we return instance. So we just validate our stuff is what we do real quick. Okay. Failed to continue using gun instance due to invalid data. This may cause issues with player experience. And that just flows down to here. So if everything's good, now we go down to if engine is running as dev, and then we go instance doesn't equal. So this is just debug stuff. Gun cache doesn't contain value. So we just call and we say like, hey, this is what our data was previously, and we just reset our instance here. So we're going to call load instance, which creates a new gun instance based off the gun stack, the entity we're currently holding, and our data. And we just gun data doesn't equal null. We go instance.load gun stack. So something's happened. Oh, that's right. So let's murder off the gun. If we put this down here, we know it doesn't work without this. Now we'll put this here. As soon as we put that gun down, it starts messing up again. Okay, so I'm gonna put this here real quick. Of course, it's gonna load gun instance data instantaneously. That's gun 2. Yeah, we're not gonna be able to put a debug line there because it's gonna go off on the creative tab anytime we put it there. Because all this stuff is constantly loading gun instances. It's not exactly the most efficient system. I'm actually looking on a way to improve the scenario here. One of the things is probably going to cache this information up here per gun. So it's going to be more statically orientated, but it should improve things. And then this way, as long as you're not holding a unique gun, then it'll use the same data. But if it's a unique gun, then it'll add things like your clips and tell you what's going on. Maybe it's this here. We have an on update script that runs on every single gun in your inventory. What I need to do is check what slot is active. So if slot equals entity dot inventory dot current item. So let's see if that fixes things. Because we're probably alternating for the fact that it's running an on update script every single tick. That did fix it. That was the issue. Okay, so what was happening, exactly what I said, is that we were reloading the gun instance every single tick just to update this code. So we checked slot, and that fixed that issue. That's awesome. Probably a few other spots I need to fix in here too. That should work though. Some of this information definitely does need to be cached because we're pulling gun data mostly up here. So what we're doing is we're pulling the type of gun, what ammo fits into it. This stuff is unique right here. So this is, or rather this part here. We check what round is chambered. So that tells you if you have, as clips can have more than one ammo type. So you can have like an every other system or every third or every whatever. It doesn't matter. So it'll tell you what round's chambered. It'll tell you how much ammo you have left in the magazine. For some reason it tells you reload type. Oh, it'll tell you reload type if you don't have a round chambered. So if you don't have like a clip in there, it'll go, hey, your reload type is clip. So you can only load clips in here. You can only run magazines in here. Or it has to be a belt or a box mag, or it has to be something that fits in there. Well, the important thing is, the thing is when they go add information, they don't give you the slot for the add information, so I can't tell what slot we're hovering over. If I did that, then I could say, okay, we only want to tell you the chamber for the gun you're holding. Because this literally runs every single tick. So this needs to be cached because it's going to garbage collect the objects out the ass. At least we have fixed it, so this gun no longer does that. This one work? Yeah, this one works. Okay. Oh, cool. It keeps reload. So it does save reload ticks. That's nice. Okay, so we're going to test the handgun here. One thing that should actually work is I should be able to do this. And I cannot do that. That's something I need to work on. So you're supposed to be able to breach a single round. This gun, by the way, does pathetic damage. Yeah, the client's like, hey, I want a gun that does like 2 damage. Basically means you can shoot at stuff and it just will not die. There's a slight accuracy issue actually with this. Very slight though. At distance it doesn't really make much of a difference, but when you get closer it's more noticeable. Time set day. This has a little bit to do with how the ray trace code works. So the ray trace code is designed to go where my cursor points, and the farther you get away, the less noticeable it is because it's going to be more true to that cursor point. The problem is your aim is actually based off of your head rotation, and I believe there's a precision issue with it. Client side has probably one of the most perfect ray traces for it, and I may actually... I don't really want to be putting data client side where it actually decides where you're aiming at on the client, because that leaves a lot of loopholes open for people cheating. But I could calculate it both client side and server side, compare with each other, and if the client's not too far off where the server is, I can let the client take control. That'll prevent people from really cheating, but it'll fix issues like this, where when you get really, really close, the accuracy just kind of starts to fail on you. Alternatively, I can just leave a feedback mechanic like this in here. So you notice how the blue laser is helping me aim right now? I can pretty much go, oh, I see the blue laser, therefore I can use the blue laser to aim with. I can replace the blue laser with a smoke trail that only the player who's firing the weapon can see, and that would improve the situation. So if we sit here and we keep shooting, okay. I feel like I need to fix it properly. I mean, the cool thing, at least it's not an issue when you're at distance, or, I don't know, can we hit the cow? Yeah, we hit the cow. At least I fixed the ammo reload issue. There was actually a pretty nasty bug going on with that I had to correct. Well, this one seems almost worse than the reload problem. The issue with this is that there's nothing inherently wrong with the ray trace code. So when we go to do the ray trace, we basically calculate a starting point and an aim. And the aim is, I believe, calculated using Minecraft code to start with, so the aim should work pretty well. Actually, no, we're calling get aim here. Yeah, this is based off of Minecraft's code. It's based off yaw and pitch. Issue with this, I believe I've had problems with this code before. Back in like 1.5.1.6, I built a laser weapon you could use for mining, which I'm eventually going to bring back to life. I don't know when, but eventually. That had the same problem with recycling Minecraft's aim code. Let's see if I could just... Yeah, let's go in... we're going to really quickly make an object here, just so I can reference the get aim code. Get... did they get rid of it? Let's get eye height, Y offsets. I believe it's a client-side method. Actually, I think if I call engine dot proxy dot, there should be a helper method. There's not a helper method there either. There might be one in the item here. Get moving object position from player. What are you? You look like an awesome method here. So this might work. Because what this is pretty much a ray trace method already. So they create a vector. The vector is created from D0, D1, D2, which calculates the distance from... Okay, does previous position, so yeah, they're just doing a float variable here. So the issue with Minecraft code is it's pretty much fugged because of the obfuscation. Ah. We might be able to use this. Because all we need is the aim. All I need is how we're aiming at the position, which is not much different than the code we currently have. If you actually look at this code right here, it is pretty much the same as our code here. So we just need to figure out what did they do differently here that corrected for the issue I'm experiencing. And for all I know, that they may have the same issue in their code, which is the reason why I have the issue, is that both these code sets are messed up. But it doesn't look like that is the case. And the reason I say that is they're doing a lot of previous and current position checks. So they create a vector 3, which gets them their pretty much their current position. And then they're calling D3, D4, and this turns into some complicated stuff here. Okay, then they have a reach check here. So if we get rid of this reach check, we should be able to pretty much ray trace to whatever we want using just this method here that they've got. So we're going to copy the whole thing, and we're going to take it to my gun object over here. And we're just going to, well, we're going to kill the game here, but we're going to swap out the ray trace code I have with the ray trace the code they have, and see if we can get better results here. If I get this code working too, I'll go ahead and make a prefab out of it and VoltSense it for other people to use. And if I can spell correctly too while I'm at it. I don't know what this boolean is used for. So we're just going to recall it to be, it's probably that part where I was saying I didn't know how to exactly use the ray trace methods. I know there are checks to collide with uncollidables. So like water, that's how the bucket works. The bucket ray traces water. Normally when you ray trace, you can't actually ray trace water. So there's probably a boolean that I messed up when I did my ray trace here. Because I have prefabs of ray trace that go back quite a while, and I think in the ray trace blocks method, I am not using these booleans right here correctly. Because there's one that I believe lets you turn off collision with uncollidable blocks. And I need to fix that. Especially so you can shoot through fences and stuff, which would be really important. I also do need to add ability to shoot through wooden walls and glass and everything else. That will come later. Anyways, let's separate this code out so it's easier to read. We're calculating reach distance there. Okay. Okay, so F7, F6, and F8 are indeed aim variables. So this is aim X, this is aim Z, and this would be aim Y. I wish I knew what to call these right here, because it's not exactly precise. This is yaw right here. This is pitch. Okay, so these are right here are used to calculate Y. Correct, X and Z. This is I mean, this one's pretty obvious, but I mean, document everything. This is one of the parts where I say I'm really good at reverse engineering. Is I know how to do this part where you take code and you break it down. You start renaming things, you start documenting things, you start leaving hints, and eventually something that would look so complicated and messed up becomes a lot easier to understand. I think it's calculate, yeah, whatever. It doesn't matter. Yeah, we're looking at our starting position here. So we got Vec 3. Okay, so this is end is what this is. And this is start. Start plus, yeah, okay. Yeah, so we're basically adding the aims. So the parts I actually want are the aim section, which is this code right here, which is pretty much what I already have. So that's telling me that I'm not going to get much else where I'm currently at. What is going to help me is probably this bit here. This actually adjusts for a few different issues. It does have player eye height, although, okay, yeah, so that'll correct a few problems. We're just gonna go with it. We're just gonna roll with the thing. So this is X, Y, Z. So we're gonna rename these. Okay, we really don't need the float F. This is probably used for delta, so the amount of time between each tick. Seeing as it's 1, it doesn't matter. There's probably another spot where Mojang just copied this code and went, hey, we want this to do so and so. And they were like, oh yeah, we just replace this variable, we won't get rid of it. Yeah. But we're going to test this. So we're going to get moving object position, which we just call right here pretty much. The issue is, the reason why I want separate code is I do need these guns to work for NPCs, which means passing the player in is really shitty because it doesn't work. Because if we put entity in here, we can't get default eye height. If we put living base in here, we might get a little better. Nah, we can't do that either. So this code literally only works for the player. There is a way I can get around it. I can pretty much chop this piece out, put it down here, and put an if statement going if player add. That's probably the easiest way to do this. So if player instance of entity player, which is going to yell at me here in a second because it's like, hey, we already know it's an instance of player, but we're gonna just go y plus equals this whole glob of mess here. We'll grab probably Lex's comment is who this comment belongs to. I could be wrong, it could be CPW's. Somebody put this comment here. That's all I know. And it's a good idea to keep it because it does know something important. There's a difference between the client and the server on the ray tracing. If else, we go plus equals player dot get eye height. And then we're going to go ahead and change this to an entity. And then eye height is an inherited object from entity, but get default eye height is a player only object apparently. Probably could have moved that to entity base and it probably would have worked just as well. So we know this all works. I can pass this in because I've got the entity object here. I don't know what Boolean is, so we're going to go figure out how this is used. So we're going to hit find usage. Artilix uses this. So we call true. So I'm going to call true, and we're going to see how it rolls. We'll flip between both of them just to make sure there's no difference. But the reality of it is that we are not going to know unless we test, actually. So I was about to say the reality of it is that it doesn't really matter, but it does actually matter. I believe false is what we actually want. True is going to trace water. But we'll check here in a second. So we need to... I mean, I don't need to get rid of this code. I do need to copy it, and then we're going to comment this part out. We're going to repaste it back in, but we're going to change this part of it to get moving object from position. We're going to pass in world, entity that is currently using our gun, and then we're going to start with false. And we're going to see what difference we get. And then if this does work, we're going to break this down into subparts. So this part is going to end up going down to the aim section. And one thing I noted, I do need to fix this part here. And do we have a range variable? You know what? I don't think we do. How are we calculating the endpoint here? Do we have an endpoint? Oh yeah, 500 is what we decided what the range was going to be. There it is. That is useful. And we'll go to do set based on weapon. 500 probably is going to end up being the max range for any gun, just simply because usually the load distance is pretty low. I think I want to say 300, maybe 400 blocks is about the load distance. I'm not going to look that up right now. But we're going to go ahead and load this back up, and we're going to check to see how this works out. If Minecraft's code works out, I'll be happy because I won't have to work at it. If it doesn't work out, then I get to spend a while trying to figure out why in the world is there such a huge difference between the two setups. And if it comes down to it, I may have to do 2 ray traces, which wouldn't be too big of a loss. I may actually even do, yeah, 2 ray traces work out, because what I can do is I can run a ray trace from the center of the player outward, and that would guarantee me I would know where my endpoint was, and all I have to then do is ray trace a second time from the gun's position to that hit point of the first ray trace to guarantee that your arm isn't sticking in the middle of a dirt block or something. That would work out rather well. It was about an hour left here, and we are 41 minutes in the video, so not too bad. Wish I could give you guys some different content here, but we're back to modding, which I guess most of you guys subscribed for the modding originally, but I plan to go full-on game development over time here. I did note this last year that eventually I would slowly back down from modding and be going on other things. I love to mod, I really love to do it, but the amount of money I make is just so low. It saddens me. Because after all, this is enjoyable. The number one thing I always love to do is build content, make things, put things into things. And it doesn't matter if it's a game, if it's a mod, if I'm doing Legos or whatever. The importance is making things happen. Now, our ray trace, so that blue beam, is going to render at a different spot than we're aiming at. And apparently we want true on this method. I have a feeling, let me look out here. What is this method? This is a ray trace block only method. Shoot. Okay, we want to trace entities. Actually, this should do both, shouldn't it? That's a block ray trace there. Okay, so our second boolean right here is used to ignore collision boxes. So you'll always check if we are colliding with a block regardless if it has a collision box. We want to make sure that is set to true actually, because if it's set to false, it's going to ignore. So that's probably like do block check or something. I'm not seeing any collisions in here, so I need to figure out. Okay, my rain mod worked. I do need to work more on that mod and cancel some packets out and stuff. Let's see. So this gives us a starting point and an ending point. And then it does a false on the first B, and it's a false on the end. We're going to go ahead and we're going to start chopping pieces. So we're going to start replacing the vector system with my vector system, which is the position system. That way I can replace the default world or default call with my own call real quick. Which if I go and, yeah, it's pretty much starting point, ray trace endpoint. So start dot ray trace the world and the endpoint. This should fix it not ray tracing entities. Time set day. Okay. Now the trick is I can't tell. Yeah, I gotta fix the beam not rendering in the right spot because that's gonna throw this off. Okay, so okay, Minecraft's ray trace code is even more broken than mine. Because you see right we're here, I'm like aiming at things and it gives no craps what's going on. Okay, so so you got our aim. A real loud cow is what we also got. If I just copy this real quick, I can just drag it down here so we actually get a proper beam render. And if I comment this out, it won't render the original one, but then I don't have to rewrite that whole code up there. So we want to put it down here. And of course, all the stuff's set up there, so I don't have to redo it. Okay, yeah, it's doing what I thought I was going to do. It's casting the ray out of the middle of my forehead. Okay, so I mean, it does work. Except when you're like really close for some reason. It's probably ray tracing the character itself. So we want to do start equals start dot add aim. This will offset it just a little bit, so I'm not ray tracing my own forehead. There we go. That code is working a lot better. Let me third person real quick to make sure it's not ray tracing through the back of my head. You'll be surprised how many times I've had that happen in Minecraft code. Okay, it is working. So I have a couple options. I can just leave this ray trace code in and it fixes my aiming issue, because if I aim, see how I'm like aiming, and then I'm hitting. So it is fixing the problem. And the problem that in my code is coming from is the fact that I'm aiming a little bit to the right, but then it's not going directly to the cursor. Did I just say no instead? I can't decide if I haven't had enough sleep where I'm starting to imagine words. Or if the animal is literally screaming, "Do not shoot and kill me." I probably should be using something other than animals to test on. I feel like I'm evil. I like doing that. Okay, so this code is working. So we need to replace our getAim code because there's other things that depend on the getAim code functioning properly. So we're going to crop this part and we're going to put it down here. Yeah, this will just be aim X, aim Y, aim Z, etc. Yeah, aim Y, aim Z. I actually do need to make this a prefab because this will just be so easy to deal with because it works out really well. All you got to do is pass in your yaw and pitch, and you get a pretty decent result out of it every time. So we got getAim, so we just got to make a variable. So pause aim equals get aim, and then we need to pass in yaw and pitch. And then what this will be for this part, this will be aim multiply distance, and this will be add aim. Okay. By the way, for those who are probably looking at this code and thinking to mimic it, one thing I like to note when I use this pause system, I'm using the pause system mainly out of laziness because there's not a lot of other better options to do than this. But there's one thing to note: if you're using calculations, the pause system does eat up extra memory because you're junking objects. This is actually a problem some of the newer Minecraft versions have. You create an object and you junk at the very next tick. And Java can clean up pretty well after itself, but if you can completely avoid this situation, your code runs a lot better. If you watch a few of my game development videos, you'll see me realize this as well, and I got my game going from 2 gigabytes down to 75 megabytes, clearing shit like this up. But that aside, this is pretty much our basic code here. So now we got our starting position code here, which is this whole entire piece up here is just used to calculate the start point. So we need to modify a few little bits here. So we got our hand point, which we rotate by 90 degrees for some reason. We move that to radians, and then we basically calculate our hand position, then we add our hand position to our current position. So I'm not seeing any reason why I can't just copy this code and bring it down here. So we need to really quickly do this. So I need to replace player with entity. Replace all. We do not need the float value because it's going to always multiply to 1. So we can get rid of that code. This does need a world object. In order to get the world object for it, we can just go entity.world. I believe this is world object. There we go. Okay, and then we just want to go X, and we want to go Y and Z. And this should adjust our position code, so that way we're closer. I'm going to have to negative the Y by a little bit because we don't really want the gun to be at the eye level, because if we look at our handhold position, our hand is about half a meter down from our eyes, about almost a full meter actually. This will change depending on the gun. Like if you actually hold the gun at arm's length, which will be something we'll add later, then we'll have to change the starting position, of course. But this code should run better. And at this point, we've pretty much chopped the code down to our original ray trace method. So I need to figure out where the yaw is being calculated. Here's our yaw position where it's being calculated. Once again, we need to get rid of the player object here, so replace all. And I'm highlighting it, by the way, because you want to replace only in the selection. You don't want to be replacing everywhere. We'll go ahead and replace this. This will fix a few issues. Not many. What this will mainly do, and this is probably the same reason Minecraft's using it, if you're moving around a lot, you want to kind of calculate somewhere between where you were and where you are now, which is sort of what this is doing. Yeah, it's getting rid of the delta of it. This is complicated is what it really ends up being. It's simple when you actually sit down and look at it, but it's complicated when you have to think about it of how it's or why it's actually being used. Because if our previous position was 10 and our next position is 11, then we added 1 to this, which means we're at 11 anyways. So this whole code ends up working almost always to be the same, no matter what. So the reality of it is like, why does it exist? And the answer is it doesn't. Yeah, this code doesn't make any sense at all. Because if you remove the bracket, because the bracket really doesn't matter, because if I transition this bracket from being here to say being here, it would result in the same value. You're canceling out previous yaw off of both of these, but I'm going to keep with it because for some reason Minecraft's included it, and I'm going to trust that something in their heads told them what to do. The reality of it is that we're probably all screwed up on this one. Starting point, add, okay. All of our code is pretty much the same. I can now get rid of this method. I'm actually not going to get rid of the method completely because if I do, I have to restart the game, but I'm going to clear that out. I'm going to restore our previous call here, and I'm going to get rid of this part. And reload real quick, and we should get about the same results. Okay, so as you notice, our ray trace is now calculating a little higher above our head, and the beam is not. Oh yeah, the beam is not rendering because I'm not sending the packet anymore. There we go. Reload that real quick. Okay, there we go. Yeah, so our beam is rendering, and okay. Now we need to check to see if anything we have now spent the last so-and-so time doing has actually mattered at all. So I'm point blank. Okay. I can't tell if the grass is saving your life or not. So let's push you out. Okay, so yeah, our aim is still being affected by the starting position here. So I actually have an idea of how to fix this. We want our original starting point is what we want. Because what is happening is we're calculating our endpoint based off of that right hand position, which is setting us slightly askewed offside. If we recalculate our starting position to be at a different point, which by the way, I'm just going to do this, pause.end. We're going to get rid of our endpoint here. And we'll go up here and we'll calculate it up here because this will allow me to get the original position, sorta. I guess is the way to do this. And we only need the endpoint for... Where is that endpoint in the equation? It's okay, it's right before the aim. So this is bullet spawn point.add, but we don't actually want the bullet spawn point. We want the player's position. So we're going to have to create a new method, which means we're going to have to restart this. So which means I can junk this method now. So we want the player's position prior to adding the hand position. So we're going to calculate this real quick. And we're going to call this get entity position. And likelihood is we don't need the yaw on the pitch because we don't want to calculate the hand position right now. So we're going to get rid of the hand position. And then we're going to do this. And yeah, that'll work. Then we're going to recall this get bullet spawn offset. And what this will do is this will not actually return the full position. We're going to return the hand position. So if we get rid of this, apparently we set that to a vector. Oh, I know it's a vector. I redid this code for the grappling hook. So I figured out when I was working on the grappling hook that this code had a flaw in it, and I fixed it. But yeah, that works. So we're going to get entity position, we're going to get bullet position offset. So right here, we're going to go final pause entity pause equals get entity position. Then it'll literally be entity position dot add, and it'll get bullet spawn offset. This also kind of lets me control the data a little better because each gun is going to have a slightly different bullet position offset because of the fact that the barrel lengths are going to be different. So you need to calculate for the barrel lengths and a few other things, et cetera, et cetera. There's a lot of work that's going to come into play down the road, especially when you kind of consider that the first-person view and the third-person view are different from each other. So I'm going to have to fake out client-side logic a little bit to trick the first-person view into thinking the bullet actually did fire from the correct position. But then all the actual bullet position logic runs from the third-person view because of the fact that where the position of the gun is where other people are going to see that bullet actually spawn from. But yeah, this should give me the thing, and then what I can do is an entity position down here, dot add multiply 100 and something, etc. This will fix the aim in theory. Hopefully, at least. I'll be happy if I fix this, because then I can move on to fixing the reason why recipes aren't loading in VoltsEngine, which will be the next thing I'll work on. I don't know if I'm going to record that, though. That'll mainly just be me recompiling VoltsEngine, tossing it in multi-MC, checking to see if it works. If it doesn't work, start back from the square one. It's going to be a lot of figuring out why the file system isn't working. And it's probably going to be something dumb where I'm going to have to work on implementing something very close to the resource loader, which Minecraft has. So I believe Minecraft actually does parse the jars again to load resources out of it, along with zip files and stuff. So I may have to replicate that behavior because the files I'm looking for are not being loaded onto the class path for some reason. Because the way VoltsEngine loads things is that it expects Forge to have pulled all those files into the class path, and the class path is where all the classes are loaded. There's no easier way to explain it. But it goes, okay, it goes through every single mod and goes, okay, so you have a content folder. I need to now check that content folder and see what's inside the content folder. And then it goes through every single file in the content folder and goes, okay, you're a JSON file, I'm going to load you now. And then it runs it through all the parsers, and then that turns it into items or guns or clips or ammo. Turns all that data. If it can't find that content folder, it ain't going to load the data, which is a really bad issue because I want to try to transition as much as possible over the JSON system. Which, if that system isn't working, I can't transition, which is going to delay updating to newer versions of Minecraft. Oh, that kind of works. It's not actually fixing much of an issue here. So we may have to go to the double ray trace system. I mean, it works until you get really close. So I mean, it's doing its thing. You get as close as you get, the more likely it is to fail. So if I aim center of map, if I aim here, 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 yeah, it's not. I mean, it's not working. So if my cursor's over the target, I should be hitting it. And if I actually hit F3B. It doesn't start to hit until I'm putting it directly over that cursor. Or in that case, it's off by almost a whole entire meter. Let's work on getting the height distance fixed at least. I think I need to just do -0.5. Yeah, that worked. Still off. If you look at it, the ray trace is literally just missing. And I can't tell if it's a rounding issue. I can't tell what's going on here. Oh, wow, it's really bad on certain spots. And if you move, it's actually a bigger issue if you move around. So I need to get rid of this code here, because this is the code that's actually causing it to fail. So there's something with that previous position and everything that is actually affecting things. So we're just going to get rid of this. We're going to set it back to just X, Y, and Z. And then we'll leave the eye height there because that actually is pretty useful. So if I'm moving, it sort of still is an issue why I'm moving around. I mean, it's not as big of an issue. Okay, so at least we won't get affected by that anymore. So I'm going to have to implement one of two of my previous options stated. I'm going to have to leave the feedback mechanic in here of stuff. So there's going to have to be some kind of smoke trail. At distance is not a problem. At point blank, it is legitimately a serious issue. And I suspect, say if you're running through a cave and you walked up on a monster and you were really close and you just start firing at him, and you were missing. I can see people throwing buckets at me like, hey, your guns are horribly inaccurate. Why is that a black spot there? Oh, because there was a hole there. We don't want to change the code because, I mean, at distance it works perfectly fine. So if cursor's right here, at least the illusion is working perfectly. You know, we're going to go back to our original ray trace we had there that was working for us, where our start and end position were identical to each other. Or, I mean, we weren't offsetting at all. So we're going to keep the bullet spawn point for the NED version, because any version is going to be important because you want the bullet to spawn where the gun is, or else you're going to shoot yourself in the foot or something. But for this, we're going to set our code to the NED's position. And I need to add aim to that to make sure we're not going to shoot ourselves in the forehead again. Okay, so yeah, that works perfectly. If we're aiming from the center of our player's forehead, I think it's how this code is literally designed. How Minecraft's code works is it assumes you're going to be ray tracing from the center of the forehead. Okay, so we're going to leave that code in there because it works. We're going to have to get rid of our debug ray trace because, well, no, we'll leave it in here because it only runs in dev mode. But I'm going to call that the end of this video because I need to go take my dog for a walk and cook, and I'll be heading out in 20 minutes anyway. So I'll be back with more videos, more of these guns here. I'll be working on finishing up this rifle, handgun. The client also wants an EMP gun, so he can EMP turrets, a minigun auto turret, which I have started on, grenade, and a rocket launcher. So I'll be showing off videos of those being created and showing how they're made and everything else.